Namaste. Namaste. Welcome, beautiful souls. Welcome to the 12th day of Advent. And I also want to honor that this is a 12-12 day. I was sitting in contemplation of what I wanted to ask the cards this morning, and the moon was so beautiful last night and this morning. It was so bright, and I'm just reminded that we are still in this waxing phase. And so my question has to do with, how can I make a difference on this day? And I invite you to all think of action. And action, you may choose a different synonym. It could be, you could be thinking about a step. Actions come in different ways, and I know sometimes I have said the greatest action is an inaction, so I need to be mindful of that as well too. But I also had to laugh. I came on a few minutes late, and decided I was going to use the Wild Unknown. And I took the deck out of the box, and there sitting on the bottom of the pile was the Bat, the 12th card. And this is just a reminder to me of how magical all of this is. You might want to use a different descriptor, but it is the 12th day. It is a 12-12 day, and there's also 2 12s and 24, and I know when we add it all up together, today isn't a 12 day, but you would think that after so many years of doing this, that the tendency may to become a little disheartened or even bored. And I want to assure you that it is anything but that. I find this whole process absolutely fascinating. There is always something to learn, and I want to talk more about that later. This wonderful community that we have on YouTube. All right, let me shuffle the cards for today's inspiration. How can I make a difference on this day? One more. And I think I will do the first part of the first operation today, thinking of that word, action. Okay, so I only need to cut the 3 piles, so I'm going to focus on this first pile. Okay, so here is another synchronicity. On the bottom of the Wands pile, or the pile of drive or will or creativity or fire, is the 10 of Wands. And I'm going to come back on after this and do a reading in the Facebook group. And because I want to talk about this transition into the 3rd decan of Sagittarius. But this is sort of at the bottom of the story, sitting here, reminding us that this very important 10 of Wands card is approaching. So this is another sign, the little bat that showed its face to me when I opened the box And then this Sag card sitting here at the bottom of this pile. $21 is 12 reversed. This reminds me of the expression or the awareness that we are all connected, that everything is connected. And I was sitting in a staff meeting. Sometimes when I'm working in the Muggle world, I want to offer some things, and I do. And the way that I might word it, sometimes people sort of, look up from their days. But this idea that we interact with the people in our lives that we need to interact with to learn the lessons that we need to learn is not a point that everybody understands. And this goes all the way down to these children that are in grade 11, grade 12, who are together in this very special program. They're here to learn from each other, and at what level, only God knows. But it's also a reminder to me that it is so important to observe all of these intersections and connections, and how important we all are to each other. Now, the World card is a card of completion. It is a card of fulfillment. And the question was, how can I make a difference today? How can I make a difference today? This may be, let's take this really simple, in helping another to conclude, to complete something. Perhaps stepping in for another and completing it on their behalf because they are unable. This is also a card that opens portals and windows and opportunities, and how you might make a difference in that regard is if this is for yourself to take that sign very seriously and not dismiss it. And if this were to arise for another, to make sure that indeed they did recognize that new opportunity that is right there. You can also give them the gift of honoring a conclusion, honoring a completion. That could be celebratory, that could be a gentle smile, that could be a well done. And this was the special run of this deck where the Justice card was colored. I didn't color this one. And I think this says it all. We recognize and we honor the beauty in each other. We recognize and honor the differences and how special each of those differences are. And we also honor how much we learn from being in the presence of the blacks and the whites, the greens and the grays, all of the colors of the rainbow. And there is something always that we will benefit from adjusting, likely an opinion, And with the Father of Cups swimming away there, I'm thinking sometimes this can be a bitter pill to chew, that we don't always want to acknowledge how deeply this may be affecting us. And the Father of Cups has been through everything, and they have risen to this place and come to this place of leadership and prominence in their world because they have experienced it all and felt it all. And yet they know how hard it is. So how might I make a difference today? By acknowledging, by naming a difference, a special gift. But there's something about a follow through, a carry through, that your observation is spoken aloud, or it means something. The world card is, I love the way that the swan is moving on. It helps you, or it helps a group of people to move through something. And perhaps you are the one who mentions it. Thank you. All right. I may have to lean over my tarot table, but that's okay. I want to talk now about this amazing tarot community, which is one of my favorite things. Without this amazing tarot community, and welcome, Aria. I don't know if I said hello to you. There's an energy, and there's a beautiful group of people who are both creating content, and the ones who show up in the live streams and the ones who watch the replays and ask questions and support the work that the content creators do. This is a fabulous community, and it is quite large. Last night I happened to tune in while I was preparing something, and across my YouTube page came a broadcast of a whole bunch of readers who were talking about tarot ethics. And towards the end of the chat, it just warmed my heart as the discussion moved to the point that with every reading, there is always work to do. And that so many of these readers said this in their own way and truly understand this. It really warmed my heart to know that I'm not the only one who believes this so firmly. And I want to thank Ange and everyone who was there. If you're interested, I can link that video below later. It's a lovely chat. It was a two-part chat on tarot ethics. So, I am going to show you one Christmas thing. We're halfway to Christmas, as Aria points out, and I meant to bring it around, but I'm going to lean over and get it. You know, my mother was a funny creature. in terms of her spirituality. I remember taking her to Sylvia Browne one time, the psychic Sylvia Browne, and we were in a large theater. And she turned to me and she said, "How does she do that?" And I think one of the reasons I took her to this performance was because I wanted to open up the can of worms about the work that I was doing. And I realized in that moment that she really did not have awareness of these connections or a faith or a trust in spirit. And she did go to church, she did get married in a church. Not later in life, she didn't go to church. She never really had any sort of spiritual connection in any way. And one of the objects that I found that I never saw when I was growing up was this beautiful snow globe. Let me turn it for you. What are those letters you're seeing reflecting in there? Oh, it's the computer. It's a computer screen. Maybe I'll put it over here. And it makes me think of her, despite this was not characteristic of her. And it makes me, I don't know, I just, it also helps me to have compassion for those who may not quite be ready to hear any of these messages. And when I was speaking of the tarot community, one of the things I did ask in the chat, there was a lot of questions and it didn't get responded to, but that was in regards to some of the regular trolls that we see on our channel that are quite abusive, abrasive, and how they navigate and manage that. And my point being here that I need to remember that sometimes the anger and the abrasiveness that comes through in people is simply from a not knowing. And so the other day when Tarot Destroyer came on my channel, that's quite the title of a channel name, isn't it? And they've been there many, many times. And I simply said in a calm voice, I simply asked them to leave. And they didn't respond very well to that. Yeah. And despite that, I still love this community. So my tarot tip today, I have already mentioned. And that is, there is always work to do following a reading. That might be responding to an action that is suggested. It could be a journaling exercise. And hello to Saskia. There is always something to do following a tarot reading. Especially, oh my goodness, if you pay for a tarot reading and you simply receive it, you have no notes, no photo to follow up on, nothing has been recorded. it's such a waste of energy, let alone, I mean, that just blows me away that actually happens. But when you are doing your daily readings, I would suggest that as the reading concludes, you say, all right, this is a busy day, but still, or I'm about to go to bed, but what one thing can I do to respond to this reading? Can I journal about the part of it that irks me the most? Hello, Amelia, welcome. Is there somebody that I need to phone right now, pick up and call because they need to hear this message, or I know exactly what I have to say to them? So yeah, it could be a phone call. Is there a prayer? Is there a prayer or a poem that I feel inspired to write? Perhaps the action is simply taking a photo and saying, I understand this is bigger than this moment, and I will return to this image in the morning. There is always something to do following a tarot reading. And I don't know if you have thought about that. And this bit about tarot readings creating work for you might be one of the reasons, conscious or subconscious, that many people avoid this kind of thing. And if you are working with me, for example, I will always give you homework. Always. In case you can't figure it out for yourself, which you usually can. Yeah. And if this is your only contact with the cards today and you haven't done anything personal, from this morning's message, what one small response could make a difference in someone's life, or could make a difference? That's as far as my question went. Okay. So thank you. Thank you for being a part of this this series. And I will see you tomorrow for day 13. Namaste.